Good afternoon and welcome to the Lloyd Rapelje graduation. Before we begin the ceremony, please ensure that your cell phones are silenced or turned off.
Class, attention!
Lloyd Rapelje 2020, sir!
Forward, march!
The Michigan Department of Corrections is proud to honor our country. We do that through the words and music of our national anthem. We are privileged to have Jacob Sudlin of Elger Correctional Facility sing our national anthem.
Present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now invite Chaplain Linda Jones of the Kinross Correctional Facility to come forward and offer the invocation.
Please join me as we bow our heads to pray. This is a special day in the life of the graduates. As they embark on the next chapter in their lives, we pray that the same hand that has kept them this far will continue to be in their lives. Lord, we pray that you help protect them and keep them safe as they start this new chapter. Lord, we ask that you help support not only the graduates, but their families and friends as they transition into this new career. May your hand of protection be about them, and may your word continue to be the light upon their path. Help them, God, to make wise decisions and always to keep you first in everything they do. Amen.
Ready? Seat.
My name is Dennis Mesnard. I serve as the Administrator of Training Division for the Michigan Department of Corrections. I'm very pleased to welcome you to this graduation ceremony for the Lloyd Rapelje class. I would like to thank the Executive Administration, wardens, and other department leaders for attending today and for providing their support and their staff to ensure recruit success in the Academy. We are privileged to have with us today the class namesake, Lloyd Rapelje. At this time, I would like to introduce Director Heidi Washington of the Michigan Department of Corrections, who will now address the Lloyd Rapelje class. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Washington.
Hello. I'd like to welcome you to the Michigan Department of Corrections as members of the Lloyd Rapelje Academy class. I wish I could be there in person to celebrate with all of you today. This day is a day I always look forward to. I'm grateful for this opportunity to tell you how much your service means to this state and to the Michigan Department of Corrections. Many things are different today than they were just 6 months ago. We've all had to make changes to the way we live and work, and in your case, how you train and learn. I'd like to thank you and your families for your willingness to adapt and be flexible during this time. I'd also like to thank our platoon leaders, field training officers, and our training staff. They worked extremely hard to put measures in place to help you stay healthy and safe and make sure you're at your best when you walk into your new facilities. That's important because you're joining the department at an unprecedented time in our history. We've had to adapt to new challenges we've never expected to face. The team you joined today has tackled those challenges with great courage and determination and resolve. I know each of you has that same courage and determination. We're proud to be serving alongside you as you help to protect us and the people of Michigan and keep those under our supervision and each other safe. But the role you play is even bigger than that. It's also an opportunity to change lives for the better. When people come to prison, we often see them at their lowest point. It's our job to lift them up while holding them accountable and demonstrating fairness and compassion. The world is always changing, and so is corrections. We'll continue to adapt and evolve to create better outcomes for everyone who touches our system. And importantly, we will continue to stand on the front lines protecting our communities no matter what challenges come our way. Thank you for your service to our great state. Welcome to the Michigan Department of Corrections, and congratulations.
I would now like to introduce the Lloyd Rapelje class representative, Zachary Rader of the Chippewa Correctional Facility. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lloyd Rapelje class representative, Zachary Rader.
I would like to welcome our distinguished guests who, even if not present in person, are here to give us their support and are moving on to the next step in what is sure to be an excellent career. 2020 started out to be a rather complicated year, what with COVID-19 and the likes. It has certainly been an interesting year, It has been a long year with so much happening in the first few months that it made it feel like the year was coming to a close as it was just beginning. We've had difficulty after difficulty, but through it all, I have confidence in the spirit of our nation. We can all have some confidence in our nation's resolve. The Michigan Department of Corrections may not be the first state agency to come to mind when we think of agencies that benefit the general public, but the necessity and benefit of the department cannot be denied. While MSP and local law enforcement work to keep our communities safe by taking criminals off of the streets, MDOC keeps our communities safe by keeping them off of the streets. But make no mistake, keeping prisoners secure is not our only task. We work to instill in prisoners what is acceptable societal behavior, and we demonstrate this behavior by conducting ourselves professionally, honorably, and with integrity. We will strive to be above board in our actions and words. We protect our communities, our fellow officers, visitors, and the inmates themselves through the use of tools such as communication, verbal and written counseling, misconduct reports, the confiscation and removal of contraband, and the likes, to enforce the rules and policies of the department. We correct their improper behavior and prepare them day by day for a return to society. We do this by giving them the tools they need and instilling proper values in those we house for such a return, not only through our example, but also through educational and reformative programs, mental health programs, and more. Of the 29 recruits of the Lloyd Rapelje class of 2020, I am confident that all of us will prove ourselves on and off duty, demonstrating to our fellow officers, visitors, prisoners, and others our commitment to the professionalism, integrity, and courage, and the accountability that is expected of us. We will not simply be there, we will work there. We will help in the effective rehabilitation of the prisoners. We will treat them fairly. We will be consistent in the expectations of them. And we will be firm in the enforcement of the rules and policies of the department. We will not tolerate corruption. We will not be hypocrites. We will not fail in our assignments. And we will exemplify the best of the department both in and out of uniform to the general public and those we house. As our society and our state entrust the care, development, and rehabilitation of our inmates to us, we will not violate that trust. We will be humane in our treatment of those entrusted to us, bearing ever in mind that they too are people first and foremost. Being the Department of Corrections, we will help them to see the error of their past ways so that they can learn from the present how to be better people in the future. And we will do this as we maintain the security and custody of our facilities, our first and most crucial responsibility, to protect our society. We work to protect our communities, our loved ones, our friends, and our neighbors by maintaining order within the Michigan prison system. As the director once made clear, the inmates we house are in prison as their punishment, not for punishment. With so many different people from different backgrounds making different mistakes that resulted in their being sent to prison, it is only fitting that we give them the tools and education that will help them become those successful members of society we need them to be. They too are fathers, sons, daughters, and mothers. So let's send them back to their families with something their families and our communities can be proud of. Whether it's the know-how to do construction or the fine motor skills to do delicate work. With the practical application of the vocational village, the inmate will be a productive member of society, and with the example of good corrections officers and staff, we can see them becoming capable, functioning members of society. With our controls on contraband and our substance abuse programs, we can take them away from the harmful and self-destructive influences of the various drugs that drove many of our inmates to commit the crimes they were sentenced for. combining the knowledge of our staff and administrative teams under the direction and vision of our director. It is no wonder that we have been able to watch our recidivism rate drop to what it is now. With people who were once inmates committing fewer crimes after release, our communities and the families of those inmates can be proud of the work our Department of Corrections does. I look forward to seeing our recidivism rate drop even lower and our general incarceration rate as fathers and mothers return to their communities to teach their children not to pursue a life of crime. We are the Lloyd Rapelje class of 2020, and we will not be a burden, but a boon to the Michigan Department of Corrections. God bless America, and God bless you all.
We are honored to have the class namesake, Lloyd Rapelje, who will present the keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, Lloyd Rapelje.
I never thought the best part of this would be just not having to wear a mask, but this is definitely a different graduation based on the conditions that are going on. Normally it's a time that your families are here to celebrate with you, and I understand that because of the circumstances that's not possible, but I know they're out there, they're in our hearts and they're in our minds, and they're basically probably why you're here today. For most of you, it's about caring and taking care of your family. So I reach out and congratulate them for supporting you and congratulate you for your achievements here. Lloyd Rapelje is not an easy name, so I apologize right off the bat for you guys having to work with that name. Hope I'm too burdensome, but I'd like to say to you that I was in your position a little over 32.5 years ago, sitting right where you're sitting, listening to what you're listening to today, and I thought I would reflect on that and my feelings back then, and give you a little guidance of what to expect in the department by going through my career a little bit and telling you what to expect and how that unwrapped and the opportunities that may exist for all of you. Why did I come to the Department of Corrections? And I have to say, probably the same reason some of you came to the Department of Corrections. It was not some goal of mine to work for the Department of Corrections. As a matter of fact, I didn't know much about the Department of Corrections. I had gotten recently out of the military. I was in submarine force in 6 years, and then I got out and I got a job being a contractual Department of Defense contractor and moving around the country. Well, my wife and us had children, and we wanted to get back home to Michigan. This is where our family was. I had the opportunity to go to work for General Motors for a period of time as a salary employee. We built Blazers and Suburbans, and I was very happy, making good money. And then economic situations happened. The plant closed, and I was given a choice to go work in another state again and continue with GM, or that wasn't really a good option. The wife finally got home and didn't want to go, and so I looked for other career opportunities. Basically, I needed a job to stay here, and Corrections was hiring. And I interviewed, and I took a job with the department, and guess what? I actually found a career, a rewarding career that I didn't see at the time. And I went, and I remember the phone call I got that said, would you take a job at Huron Valley Men's? And it's like, I had no idea where Huron Valley Men's was, didn't even know what it was, but yes, I will. It was in Ypsilanti. I lived in Saginaw, but I got to stay in Michigan, and I went there. And again, like you take the job and then you go through the training. Our training was at the DeMars Academy in Lansing. And I was surprised at the level of training that we were given and the policies that we had to go through. And I understand and I know now that that has been greatly improved upon, and your training is probably second to none in the corrections field coming in here. And so you should feel really prepared to go and tackle the job of corrections officer because of the fine training staff and the interactions that you've had to date. But I know from sitting where you're sitting, there's still a little apprehension. There's still a little bit of maybe scaredness. I know when I went there, I was technically a little scared and trying to understand where I fit into this big facility and what my role was. And I went there, and it was a different place. It was a big place, and you get acclimated. And I expect that's what you will do. You will go to your facilities and you'll get acclimated. You'll learn the who's who and who does what, and you'll understand the prisoner rules, and you'll get acclimated, and you'll feel more and more comfortable as you do that. For myself, I did that at Huron Valley. Back then, it was a little different than it is now. 32 years is a long time, a big history of the department, and a lot of things have changed in our department. But it was, I would say, a dangerous place to work. And I think in my first year going there, I arrived there, we had a little disturbance in the chow hall, and the prisoners took over the chow hall. And this was Christmas Eve, and they took a gun squad in and took the chow hall back. And then shortly thereafter, Jack Budd was killed. I remember getting the call. I was working on segregation. He was going to come to Huron Valley, being transferred from the prisoner, being transferred from Jackson. He never did end up showing up there. They ended up transferring to IMAX. But I mean, those are some of the experiences that I've had and that you work through. And you will experience some of that. You'll experience people getting hurt. You'll experiencing medical emergencies, and like I say, you'll rise to the occasion and you'll do what you have to do because of the training. For me, I got to from there transfer back home to a center. Correction centers are no longer in existence in our department, and worked there. It was a totally different spectrum. You were out there, and the prisoners came to the center. They either went to school or they worked, and you signed them in and out and made sure they were doing those things. Thing happened to me that may happen to you in your career. The correction center is closed, and I was bumped, and a bump is not a very good thing to happen. Again, I think if you stay with our department long enough, you may experience something like that. And I think at the time, you feel a little devalued, because you know you're doing a really good job here and suddenly your facility's closed and you move on. I was bumped from Saginaw to Kinross. Today I think the bumps are more streamlined. They try to look at where it's closed and where you can stay closer to home, and I think that process is a lot better, but I would understand, and I understand the feelings of that because I went through that. And then it was in the 90s, and the boom was on to build prisons and lock everyone up. That was the mentality then, and we built a lot of prisons. I decided to promote to one of the new and open up a new prison. I got to go to Standish and then sergeant, and then at Standish, worked my way up the ranks from sergeant, lieutenant, captain, inspector. I promoted to assistant deputy director at a camp, deputy warden at a camp, and of course we don't have camps anymore either. Those have come by the wayside because we just don't need them anymore. Prisoners get to go out and be on the street because we train them to give them those opportunities that we don't need to be locked up to do those types of work. So that hadn't happened, and we don't do that now, but it was in the regime at that time. I took a deputy warden job up at Elger Max at the time. Definitely a challenge because they were transitioning from maximum attitude, and then they were transformed to multi-level, and it was a challenging time, but a good time. And then I lateraled to Saginaw as a deputy warden, and I was warden there for 7 years. And then I was given the opportunity to be assistant deputy director here in Kinross. And then the reciprocating job in Jackson I got to take. So I had the unique ability to have been working and been to every prison in the state and get a perspective and meet people. And again, back when I signed in and sitting where you were, they told us that you have the potential, every one of you, to be a warden in this department. And of course, sitting where you are, saying, right, I just want to get to the facility and I want to get out of this graduation today, and didn't think about it, but the reality is there. It's there for you. You get to come to a department that has a long history. My terminology, some of these people work for me, I used to call it cutting edge corrections. And cutting edge corrections and some of the things that we have done in corrections have made our institutions safer, from equipment to training to uniforms to facility, PPDs, to, you can go down a long list of things that we happen and change for the better. One of the things is training staff and better communications. We do things for the prisoners now to give them skills so they can go out and be successful. That's a trend that's, I think we're leading the nation in that endeavor, and it's something to be proud of. So what's next and what's in your career? That would be up to you. I would say each one of you have the ability to do what I did if you want to. Not to say that you have to promote to be effective in our department. A lot of my best friends are officers I signed in with and sat in those chairs with and are still officers today. Some of the best people in our department. They have a lot of experience and are going to mentor you when you go out there, and that's great. I know staff that decided that officers, being an officer or being a custody wasn't it. They became teachers, they became maintenance, food service, teachers, healthcare. What I'm trying to illustrate here is that you have, now that you're part of this organization, a lot of opportunity to do what you want to do. So take it for what it is. I know I can relate to you because I sat where you sat. I did the job that you did, and I know based on the training that I got and based on the training you got, you're going to be very successful to do whatever you want to do. A couple things I would pass on to you is that you're going to go back to facilities and you're going to be tested. Staff are going to test you, prisoners are going to test you, and I would say, like I told you earlier, be yourself. You all know right from wrong. You all know what the policy says. You all know how to do things right, and I always say take the high road, even if there's an opportunity to do it easier or take a shortcut. It's always better just to do the way that you should do it. Always tell the truth. Always be not afraid to make a mistake. Always be willing to admit to making a mistake and learning from it. I don't know anybody, including myself in the department, that hasn't made mistakes and aren't going to make mistakes. We are human. The biggest mistake is not owning up to it and learning from it, or hiding it or lying. Just learn and move on. Celebrate a mistake. I mean, that was in some of the training that I went to. Don't be afraid to make a mistake because it makes you better. You learn and you probably won't make it again. So I encourage you to go to your facilities, become active. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know something, don't be afraid. I don't think anybody has to know everything there is to know about in the department, and I don't know anybody that does. That's why we are all working in the department. We all have areas of expertise. That's diversity that we bring. Diversity is a good thing. We can see and learn how to do things a better way through someone else's experiences, and don't be afraid to let others take the lead if you're not that comfortable with it. Again, ask questions, ask your supervisor. If you're not sure, don't be afraid to ask someone. That's what supervisors are there for, to help you. Doesn't mean you're dumb, doesn't mean that. It means that you're willing to learn and you're not afraid to ask how to do it, and that shows a good element of your character. I guess in summary, this job today And where you go is up to you. You can be a warden, you can be an officer, you can be anything you want to be. The department is, and I am handing off the torch to you to continue making the Department of Correction cutting edge. And the new changes that are going to be required going forward, I don't know what they are, but they will be there. And who is going to answer and make those changes? And I would say to you, all those changes that I talked about, from training to equipment to procedures and to policies, who made those changes? It wasn't some outside organization that came in and made those changes. We made those changes. You are going to make those changes. Be active, get on epic teams, stand up through labor management and other things, and that's how we make an organization better and stay cutting edge. So I encourage you to get involved at your institutions and do so. The other part of this is we understand the role of stress that this job has. We now have a new thing called the wellness unit. Not so new anymore, I guess, but was new for me. Don't be afraid to reach out. If you're feeling stressed or certain problems, be open. We have people that will listen and help you get through those things. You don't have to do those things alone. And I encourage you to find other hobbies and enrich your communities by getting involved in different activities outside work so you're well-rounded and you don't get burned out. I'd like to, again, congratulate each and every one of you for taking and stepping up and finishing and graduating today, and I wish you all the best in your careers. Thank you.
Master.
Thanks.
The presentation of awards recognizes superior achievement of members from this graduating class. On behalf of Director Washington and the Michigan Department of Corrections, we present the following awards. Presenting the Josephine McCullum and Jack Budd Award is Training Officer Richard Barr.
Good afternoon. In 1987, Josephine McCallum and Jack Budd, two officers from the same recruit class, died in the line of duty. To memorialize these tragic events, awards are given in their names. As Josephine McCallum and Jack Budd received their certificates of completion and shook hands with their platoon leaders and fellow officers, it is likely they were feeling much the same as you are today. Josephine McCallum and Jack Budd were people on the threshold of a new career, and both were committed to excelling and becoming the very best they could in everything they did. The Josephine McCallum Award is presented to the recruit who demonstrated good moral character, an outstanding positive attitude, and concern for his or her fellow recruit, as well as behavior that reflects positively on the department as a whole. Nominees and the recipient of this award are chosen by the recruit class. The recipient for the Distinguished Award will receive a letter of recognition from Director Washington. Assisting with presentation of the Josephine McCallum and Jack Budd Award is Warden Connie Horton. The nominees from the class will stand as I call their names. The nominees for the Josephine McCallum Award are Officer Jacob Sudlin, Officer Brady Van Sloten. It is with great deal of pleasure that we recognize Officer Jacob Sudlin for this award. Officer Sudlin, post. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
The Jack Budd Award is presented to the recruit who has put forth an uncommon effort to improve their abilities needed to succeed as a correction officer. Nominees are selected by each platoon, and the recipient is chosen by the training staff. The recipient of this distinguished award will also receive a letter of recognition from Director Washington. The nominees selected from the class will stand as I call their names. The nominees for the Jack Budd Award are Officer Brian Delaney, Officer Christopher Perez. It is with a great deal of pleasure that we recognize Officer Christopher Perez for this award. Officer Perez, post. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Presenting the Academic Achievement Award is Platoon Leader Richard Barr, and assisting with the presentation of the Academic Achievement Award is Warden Michael Brown.
Academic success in officer recruit training is vital for all officers. It must be achieved in order to graduate from the program. It is a tradition to recognize the recruit from each graduating class who has scored the highest academically and present him or her with an Academic Excellence Award. This award includes a letter from Director Washington, a certificate recognizing the officer's achievement, and a pin which can be worn with the uniform. Before making the presentation to the top academic achiever, I would like to recognize the runners-up. Each runner-up will receive a certificate and an academic achievement pin, which will be handed out with their graduation certificates. When I call your name, please stand to be recognized. Officer Ryan Harmala. Officer Alex Sainaj. And Officer Taylor Delaney. Ready, see. It is now my pleasure to announce the Top Academic Achiever Award. We have a unique situation in this academy. We actually had two officers that tied for the final score, so we will be handing out 2 Academic Top Achiever Awards. The top 2 Academic Achiever for the Lloyd Rapelje class are Officer Brian Delaney and Officer Jacob Sudlin. Officer Brian Delaney, post. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Officer Jacob Sudlin, post. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
At this time, Assistant Deputy Director Cindy Dodds-Dugan will lead the Lloyd Rapelje class in reciting their oath of office.
Attention!
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state,
and the Constitution of the state,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my position
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of my position
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Just stay up here with me.
Ready? Seat.
Just stay up here. We're going to do academic points. At this time, Assistant Deputy Director Dodge Dugan will present military appreciation coins to recruits with honorable military service. Assisting with the presentation will be military veteran and new employee training supervisor Dennis Mesnard. Ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Director Dodge Dugan.
Military recruits, attention! Post!
Officer Shay Grady, United States Air Force. Thank you for your service. Officer Jonathan Johnson, United States Army. Thank you, Johnson. Officer James Klein II, Army National Guard. Officer Paul Schuster, United States Air Force. Officer Paul Smith, Army National Guard. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your support.
Officer Michiela Spizo, Army National Guard. Will our active military members and veterans in the audience today please stand? Ladies and gentlemen, please give our recruits, all the military service members, and veterans in the audience today a round of applause for their service.
Ready? Seat.
Presenting the graduation certificates to 1st Platoon are Platoon Leader Richard Barr and Field Training Officer Lieutenant Brandon Ross.
Class, attention! Center face. Post.
Officer Robert Aho. Officer Brian Delaney. Officer Taylor Delaney. Officer Junior Frederick. Officer Shay Grady. Officer Stephen Guernsey. Officer Ryan Harmala. Officer Sean Hodgins. Officer Jonathan Johnson. Officer James Klein II. Officer Jeremiah Quao. Officer Jeremy Lester. Officer James Lyons II. Officer Brett Matson. Officer Michael Michelson. Officer Joseph Mosier. Officer Avery Knockman. Officer Calix Overland. Officer Christopher Perez. Officer Zachary Rader. Officer Paul Schuster. Officer Andrew Shea. Officer Andrew Smith. Officer Paul Smith. Officer Michiela Spiesel. Officer Alex St. Ange. Officer Jacob Sundlin. Officer Brady Van Sloten. Officer Francis Visnod Dusinki II. Congratulations. Welcome to the Michigan Department of Corrections. Ready? Ready? Seat.
There will be a reception for these graduating officers in the lobby. Attendees are invited to attend the reception. For those officers who receive special awards, please remember to return to the stage immediately after dismissal.
Class, attention!
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Lloyd Rapelje class and our next generation of corrections officers for the Michigan Department of Corrections. Thank you for attending today and have a safe trip home.
Center, face.